Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's class. My name is James Gabriel, and I'll be your instructor for the class. Tonight's class is a continuation of yesterday's class where we spoke about introduction to SQL for data analytics. So tonight's class, I'm going to introduce you to visualization in data analytics. So before we proceed, I would like to know how many of you attended yesterday's class. So if you were in yesterday's class, can you just signify on the chat so I know? And if you're just joining for the first time, I also signify before I proceed. Okay. All right. Okay. So if you're joining for the first time, you might need to watch yesterday's class to fully understand what we're going to do today. But then you can still stay in the class. Then after tonight's class, you can watch yesterday's class so that you can get the big picture. Yesterday's class, I remember telling you that in data analytics, there are basically three steps. The very first step is gathering the data you would want to analyze. The second step is cleaning the data because, like I said, most times when you gather data to analyze, the data is usually not clean. So you need to clean it. And what I meant by clean was you have to make the values consistent, correct, complete, before you proceed to analyzing it. Because if you go ahead to analyze it before the data is clean, the insights you would derive from the data would be incorrect, and then you would be communicating these incorrect insights to the stakeholders. And when they make decisions based on these incorrect insights, it usually leads to a lot of losses. So your data has to be clean. Then the third step is analyzing and visualizing your data. So after you've cleaned your data, you have to analyze it. And when you analyze it, you have to present this analysis to the stakeholders, mostly in form of visualization. So I'm going to introduce you to what is called visualization in data analytics today. So tonight's class is supposed to be shorter than yesterday's class because it's just an introduction. But let me share my screen and show you what I mean. Please let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right. So visualizing data in data analytics, I already prepared like a dummy data set. Today we are working as maybe the data analyst in maybe a supermarket, right? We're working as a data analyst in a supermarket, maybe an online store. So let me say an online store, and this is the data that the company gathers. Let me just get rid of some of the um, data we don't need. So the company gathers every order that was made, right? For instance, this first one, the person ordered for 6 quantity, and this was the sales price, and it was shipped to the customer through regular air. This was the profit. This is the unit price. This was the costs of shipping. This is the name of the customer, Mohammed, and the customer is a small business owner. And this is the region where the order was made. This is the category of the product. Is an office supply, and this is the name of the product. What else? This is the container the product was in, the date the product was shipped, and if the product was sold or returned. So this is basically what my company gathers as the data analyst, right? Every order is recorded this way. The priority of the order, whether it needs to be delivered very quickly or there's sale time, how many quantity of the order was made, the sales price, the mode of the shipping. Basically this is what my company gathers, right? This is the data that my company takes. Are you do you understand the data sets before I proceed? Is this data set clear? These are just the different fields that the company gathers. Is it clear? Okay. Uh, Someone raised their hand and the name disappeared. Okay, let me proceed. Now, in a real business scenario, if I was a data analyst, um, most times my manager or whoever is in charge or whoever I report to will always come to me with questions that they would like to answer, that they would like answers to rather. So, for instance, they might come to me and say, um, which region have we made most of our sales? Is it in Nunavut? Is it in Ontario? Where exactly? Which region do we make most sales? Or they might say, what is the most popular shipping mode? Do people really use regular air than they use delivery truck? These are just basic questions that my manager would ask me. And then because I have the data and I'm the data analyst, I should be able to answer these questions using the data by analyzing data. And even on my own, I can just go through the data and try to figure out trends and patterns, right, to determine what is going on in the business. And then I can communicate this with my manager. Also, there's something called a dashboard. So, a dashboard is, I think I showed you pictures on the first day or the second day, but then a dashboard is like a central location where stakeholders can go to and see how the business is performing in real time. So dashboard is most times a page, can be multiple page, but then it's a page that contains a lot of charts and figures and numbers that shows how a company is performing. So let me try to open one. This we go. Um, how do I make this? Okay. So this is an example of a dashboard, right? So this is an example of dashboard. Dashboard is just like a central location where stakeholders can come to and see how a business is performing. So for instance, if I was the owner of this company, I can just come to this dashboard and I can see that so far we have 1.4 million users in total, and the amount we've generated this year is $992,000. That is how much we made this year. And I can see that most of our traffic comes from organic search, then some from direct, then some from referrals. Then I can still go down and see the total revenue we've made for the paid channels and how our ads are performing. So basically just an overview of the business. We're a central location where you can come and see that. And this dashboard will update in real time. That means if there are more sales being made, the revenue will keep increasing in real time. It is dynamic, it is not static. And it is the task of a data analyst to build this dashboard. So there are a lot of different tasks that a data analyst does, right? Building dashboards, answering business questions, creating reports, and a lot of other things. But dashboard is one very important part of data analytics. Um, there is also something called reports. So a report is like a dashboard, but then a report can be multi-paged. So as you can see here, the dashboard is a combination of different charts and figures. And the data analyst does not have to be present for anybody to understand what is going on here. If you're a stakeholder and you stumble upon this page, you definitely can interpret what is going on here. But a report is combination of charts like this also, but report also has text. So there's an explanation that follows the charts and it can be multi-page. So reports are mostly presented in meetings. So maybe your company has like weekly meetings or bi-weekly or monthly meetings. As the data analyst, you'll be presenting these reports to your stakeholders, letting them know. So for instance, this part that has total revenue, you can have like a bunch of text underneath that says the total revenue for the year 2024 is $992. Most of this revenue came from organic search. Some of them were from referrals, some of them were from direct customers, and so on. But there's like an explanation that follows it. And most times it is done in PowerPoint or a slideshow app, an app that you can slide and show multiple pages. That's the difference between a dashboard and a report. So in tonight's class, I'll just briefly show you like a simple, just create like a simple dashboard to answer some questions, right? Um, but I do hope you're following. So before I proceed, I would like to explain something called variables. Okay, let me just take it one by one. Data visualization is like the graphical representation of information. You know, yesterday I showed you something. I said, let me see if I can use it. So let's see which ship mode is the most popular. Don't worry about what I'm doing, just or how I'm doing it. Just listen. So judging from this analysis, you can tell that most of our orders, 1,000 of our orders use delivery trucks, 983 use express air, and 6,270 used regular air. So if I were to ask you now, which of these different ship modes is the most popular, what would your response be? Which of these ship modes is the most popular? Guys, let's be interactive so that we can finish what we have for today.
Regular air.
All right, yeah, regular air is the most popular. Now, this is an
Regular air.
example of an analysis. I've used the data that we have to answer that question. But I told you that instead of presenting the findings to your stakeholders using numbers like this, the best thing to do is to use a chart. So you could have just used a simple chart like this that basically says the same thing. So this chart will paint a better picture than those numbers there. So from here, you can tell that most of our orders was regular air, then there's delivery truck and express air. And you can even see like the huge difference. The numbers would have not shown you the huge difference, but just putting it in form of a visualization lets you know that almost 5 times the or 6 times the delivery truck and express air. So most people use regular air. 6 times more people use regular air than they use delivery truck and express air just by visualizing your data. So data visualization is just the graphical representation of data. So this data is what you've represented here with a graph that they basically mean the same thing. But studies have been done and it has been found out that the best way to communicate your insights is by using visual because it makes it more understandable than using just normal numbers, right? So that's the whole essence. Now there are different visualization tools. Remember, I just did this visualization tool in Excel, and I told you that Excel is a spreadsheet tool. But spreadsheet tools are not built entirely for visualization. Their strength is not in visualizing data, even though they can visualize data and create charts like this. That is not what they are meant for. There are specific tools that are meant for visualizing data, and there are three very popular ones. There's Power BI, there is Tableau, and there is Looker Studio. These are like I think the three most popular ones in the market right now. So you have to learn one visualization tool as a data analyst. Remember, I told you the very first tool you need to learn is a spreadsheet tool. So whether you learn Excel or Google Sheets or numbers, it's fine. And then the second tool you need to learn is the database language, which is SQL. So you can learn SQL for any database management system, whether MySQL or PostgreSQL or Microsoft SQL Server, anyone. Then the third tool you need to learn is a visualization tool. So you can learn either Power BI or Tableau or Looker Studio or any other. There are over 1,000 visualization tools out there. But the truth is, if you learn one, it will be easier for you to pick up on the other ones, right? So I've just answered the simple question by creating a simple chart to show my manager that most people use regular air than they use delivery truck and express air. Now, uh, okay. So Power BI is the most popular tool in this part of the world to make visualization. So I have my Power BI open here. And then we are going to use this Power BI to create a very simple dashboard, and then we'll call it a day, right? So this data here that we have been seeing in our spreadsheet, this data in Excel, I imported the data to Power BI. So this is the data here. If you see the different columns here, you would also see the customer name, customer segments, region, shipping cost, unit price. There's also here customer segments. You see all of the same profits, region, sales, shipping cost, and the rest. I've imported this data into Power BI because I want to visualize it. I want to create charts and dashboards. Now let me connect this to what we did yesterday. You know, yesterday our data was in a database. Remember, I told you if the company is really big and they have a lot of data, the data will be in a database. But if it's a small company, the data can be in a spreadsheet tool like this, like Excel. If the data is in Excel, all you need to do is come to Power BI and import the data to Power BI and visualize. If the data is in a database, you can write your SQL, your selects all the columns from this table and select only the part of the data you need, export it, extract it out, and bring it to Power BI to visualize. Or you can connect Power BI directly to a database. Those are some advanced concepts. But then you can connect this Power BI directly to the database to fetch data from the database and then visualize it here. So what I'm going to do today is just create a simple visualization to answer some questions, and then we'll create a dashboard and we'll call it a day. Now, there's some questions I could answer with this data. Remember, I told you in a real business scenario, you'd already know the questions to answer. Most likely, your manager would ask you questions, or there will be business questions that need to be answered that you'd already know. You would not have to, come up with questions yourself. Even though sometimes you can just look through the data and find insights yourself, but most times you already know what is required of you. But I want to throw this out there. What are some, looking at this data here, what are some questions you think you have in mind that we could answer now that I could include in my dashboard for us to answer right now? So just look at the data sets. What are some questions you think we could answer? Just ask some questions on the chat box, then I might take some of them and answer them. Just look at the columns in the data set. So we have priority column, order quantity, sales price, ship mode, profit, unit price, shipping cost, customer name, customer segments, region, product category, product name, product container, ship date, and returns. So what are some questions you think we could answer? Please, let's be interactive. What is the total order made? Okay, that's a good one. Most dominant customer segments. Perfect. We'll answer some of this. So guys, can you keep the questions coming so we can just answer it? Two questions are not enough. What is the total revenue? That's a very good question. Okay, let's I'm still expecting your questions, but let's take it one by one. So let's see like total orders. Because this data set is small, you can just scroll to the bottom of the data set and see that there are about, I think, 8,400 orders, as you can see here. But then I'll show you how to do that. But then there are about 8,400 orders, as you can see. So if you wanted to answer this question, I'm not going to show you how I'm doing it, right? Remember, this is just an introduction. All those are left for the boot camp. But if I wanted to answer the question like the total orders that were made. Now, some of these questions are tricky. For instance, if someone asks you like, what is the total order that was made, like that, like was asked here, what are the total orders made? It could be how many orders. For instance, this first one is one order, as you can see. This is another order. This is another order, or this another. It could be that way, or it could be the order quantity. Like this first order, there are 6 quantity there, 6 units. The second order 49. The second order 27. So there are multiple ways you can answer it. Always take note of the question. The way you interpret it will determine the result. So now let's say we want to count each individual order. Like this is one order, this is 2 orders, this is 3 orders. I'm not showing you how I'm doing it, I'm just going to do it, right? So the total order is so I can use an ID. I think there's a row ID. I can use row ID and then I can count that and I can use a card for that. Don't worry about how I'm doing it, please. It's not important. So the total orders that was made is this. I rename this to total orders. Sorry. Okay, let's see another question. Let's say we want to answer total revenue beside it, total expenses, total profit, most efficient means of shipment based on cost. That's a very complex one. But I like the fact that people are actually asking questions based on this. So we've done total orders. For instance, let's say we also want to do maybe total revenue. Is there a revenue column? Okay, I don't think there's a revenue column. There's sales. Okay, sales is revenue and there's profit. So let's do sales, total sales. So we can select the sales, select the card. Total sales figure is 14.2. Let me change this to total sales. Um, put this in dollars. Like I said, I'm not going to show you how I'm doing what I'm doing. Just follow along with the explanation. Okay, then let's see profit. Maybe out of those sales, let's see how much our profit was. If the sales was this, profit should profit is just like about 10% of the sales figure. So out of $14 million, we made about $1.5 million as profit. Let me see how many customers we have. Maybe customer name, but then I'm going to change this to count distinct. We have 795 customers. Mm, total customers. Okay, so there are some figures here. I think this should be enough for now, since this is just an introduction. Let me see if there's any chat. Are you guys following? Actually, I'm not asking if you um understand how I did what I'm doing. Like, do you understand what I'm doing? Not how I did what I'm doing, because I don't expect you to understand how I'm doing it. But do you understand the whole concept of what I'm doing? Are you following? Let me get your responses, please.
Yes, yes, we are getting it.
All right. So I've answered some basic questions. So for instance, if a stakeholder comes and you will see the total order we've had so far, the total sales, the total profits, the number of customers. You can even customize this to look good. Uh, let's see. Effect. See, let's put on shadows. No, just a little bit of customization. I'll still arrange all of them later, right? I'm just doing this now. So data analysis is a very interesting field, actually. Okay, so let's say we want to answer another business question. Let me see if there's anyone. Most dominant customer segment. So let's say maybe we want to see the customer segment that gives us most of our sales. So for instance, let's see the customer segments we have. We have consumers, we have corporate customers, we have home office customers, we have small businesses. So let's say how out of all these customers, I mean, which one gives us like the most sales? So let's try to visualize that. Here is the customer segment and then the sales figure. Let's use a pie chart or a donut chart to show this. Um, let's try to format this to look better. Mhm. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Okay. Then the slices. Let me try to make the colors consistent. No, what? Let me give it another color. That's too bright. There are a lot of rules that has to do with coloring, which I'm not going to touch now, but you're not supposed to like use too many colors. Anyway, so judging from this, okay, the title is still weird. Let me change the title to total sales by customer segments and put it in the middle. Make it bold. All right. I'm just formatting it. These are very little things that you would understand during the bootcamp, but basically I'm just trying to format it to make it look better. Maybe I should just answer the questions and leave the formatting. Okay. Judging from this chart, let me see if my chart is clear and if you understand. So judging from this chart, which segments, which customer segment gives us the most sales, and how many percent of our sales come from that segment, and which customer segment gives us the least? Just type on the chat box. Let me see that you're actually following. Let me see if my chart is actually clear enough. Anyone? Yeah. So corporate customers, most 36% of our sales come from corporate customers. So you can see the beauty of Power BI. So see what happens when I click on corporate customers. You can see that 36% of our sales come from corporate customers. You see that our total order is 8,000 orders and our total sales is 40 million. When I click on corporate orders, it filters to only corporate orders. So we've made 5.5 million from corporate orders, and out of the 8,000 orders, 3,000 are from our corporate customers. As you can see, if I filter to small business, 1,600 of our orders are from small businesses, and we've made 2.7 million sales from small businesses, and the profit of 359. And we have 193 customers from small businesses. End users or consumers account for 20% of our sales, and that is 197 of our customers. And this is their total order, and this is the total sales amount from consumers, as you can see. So basically you can filter the data, the dashboard, to get more details. It is interactive. It's not just a static dashboard. As more sales are added, it keeps changing. I hope you're following, please. Do you understand? All right, so let me answer like maybe two more questions. I'm not going to complete the dashboard, so we just call it as long as you understand the concept. Um, Total revenue by ship mode. Okay, let's see. I don't see how that's logical, but let's see. Ship mode and revenue, which is sales. Let's make this a bar chart. Total revenue by ship mode. So let's take this format mention. Okay, so we can see regular air gave us most of our revenue, about 7.5 million. Delivery truck, about 6.2 million, while express air 1.2. Fewer people use express air, a lot of people use regular air. So yeah, I think that answers that person's question. I'm not going to bother formatting that. Just want to not the average revenue corporate. Okay. Yeah, it's actually very interesting. So let's answer another question. Maybe you can even put a map there, but I don't like Power BI's map, so I'm going to leave that. Let's see which. Let me see how many product categories we have. It seems like it's a lot. Okay, there are 3 product categories. Let's see which product category gave us the most profit. Let's use maybe a pie chart. So you can see most of our sales comes from the technology products that we sell, 58%, while office supply, 34%, and furniture, 7%. Most of our sales come from here. Then we can even see one other thing, maybe, let me see, let me take this higher. Um, so this is not the proper way to do a dashboard. There are a lot of things I'm missing, like I didn't even put a title and all these things, but never mind about that. Let me remove this filter. Yeah. So let's say want to answer one final question. Mm, let me see region, maybe region and sales. I don't know how many regions are there. Okay. So region and sales, the West region gave us 3.6 million, Ontario 3.1, Prairie 2.8, Atlantic 2.0, Quebec 1.5, and Nunavut is the least. Maybe judging by this, we need to do more campaigns in Nunavut because it does give us about $100K for the entire year, and that is very poor. So this is an example of a dashboard, and after you've done this as a data analyst, you upload it. There's a central location where not anybody. So for instance, there's a CEO dashboard, there's an HR dashboard, there's a sales dashboard. Each department most times have their dashboard and they're the only ones who have access to it. So let's say you build an HR dashboard, or let's say this is like the sales dashboard. Only people in the sales department and maybe the CEO of the company can have access to this, and they can come here and see how the business is performing. And they can say, oh, who are the people that we employed in Nunavut? How come they are not making any sales for us? What is going on? Can you give us the names of the sales agents or representatives in Nunavut? Let's see what's going on. And we need to see the sales agents in the West because it seems like they are doing a whole lot. And why is it that we sell more technology than we sell furnitures? Why are people not buying furnitures? What do we need to do? So that is basically the job of a data analyst. It's way more complex than this. Remember, this is just like an introduction to just get you familiar with the concept of data analytics. Is way more complex than this, but basically this is what you're supposed to be doing. Dashboard is just one part of data analytics. You create reports for weekly meetings, you would answer business questions. So these questions that you've answered is what the stakeholders will now take and make informed business decisions. So they are not going to make decisions blindly. For instance, they know that since most of our sales come from technology, let's stock up more technology stuff in our inventory. We are never going to be overstocked, right? We would always make sales from it. So you understand? So they basically know how to account and how to make business decisions without um, going blindly into it. So this is the basic task of a data analyst. Are you following? Do you understand where visualization comes into data analytics? All right. So it's a whole lot more than this actually. This is just basic. Is a whole lot more than this. There are a lot of different types of visualization. There are reasons why you should use charts. So if you check the slides, there's something called quantitative and qualitative variables. There are visual encoding. There are uses of colors. There are reasons why you should use a bar chart instead of a pie chart, or a pie chart instead of a heat map. There are univariate visualization, bivariate, there's coloring, there's chart junks, there's data integrity, there's color blindness. There are a whole lot in visualization that you need to know for data analytics. It's not just creating a dashboard and then pushing it out there. There are a lot of things you should take into consideration. But basically, the job as a data analyst is to communicate this insight to your stakeholders in form of visuals, which are charts and graphs and maps and figures like this. So are there any questions? Do you have any questions before I proceed? You can unmute your mic to speak. You can type on the chat box, whichever you prefer. All right, so let me proceed if there are no questions. So this is just an introduction to the data analytics bootcamp coming up on Monday. Let me just show you the bootcamp. So In the bootcamp, we are going to touch in details all you need to become an entry-level data analyst. So we're going to touch Excel first of all. You're going to learn the interface layout. You're going to learn about functions and formulas in Excel. You're going to learn about pivot tables, pivot charts, sorting and filtering data. You're going to even learn how to create dashboards in Excel. Then in the next module, we'll go to SQL, which we did yesterday. So you're going to learn how to create databases, tables, how to query them, the select, the from, the where clause that we treated yesterday. You'll learn more clauses, you'll learn subqueries, joins, unions. Then in the third module, we'll go into the visualization, like the introduction I gave today. But then we'll go more in depth. We'll go into variable types. We'll go into Power Queries for cleaning data before visualizing it. We'll go into building dashboards with Power BI, data modeling. When you have like 3 or 4 tables and you need to connect those tables together to create a dashboard, then storytelling, slicers in visualization. Then in the final module, we'll go to Python, how to do all of this with Python, data types in Python, variables, how to use the libraries in Python, the different data structures, how to even use Python to clean your data and to visualize your data. Then finally, we would go to how to create a portfolio website, would include all the 5 projects that would do during the bootcamp into the portfolio website. You would also learn how to optimize your CV and your LinkedIn, and then you get the certificate, and then start applying for jobs instantly. So yeah, that's basically the bootcamp that is starting on Monday, right? So it's $100, but then if you're in Nigeria, you can pay 50,000 naira. So it's automated depending on the country you're joining from. When you're in Nigeria, it shows 50,000 naira. If you're outside, it shows $100. So whenever you join from, you can pay. Um, yeah, so there's a beginner and an advanced class, but the advanced class for people that already have training in data analysis or people already working as data analysts. But the beginner class is what you should be interested in. Is pivot table part in Excel very important to know? Yes, it is very important. If I did not create a pivot table in Excel, I wouldn't have created this chart here. So this thing I did here is called pivot tables. So pivot table is like the most important topic in Excel. In fact, if you go for a data analyst interview, most times if they are interviewing you on Excel, they'll ask you questions on pivot tables. So yes, it's very important to know. And the truth is, visualization tools like Power BI and Tableau build on the concept of pivot tables. So if you understand pivot tables, you definitely know how to use Power BI and Excel to create visualizations. Are there any other questions, please? So for tomorrow's class, we'll be rounding these 3 classes up, and then I'll introduce you to Python for data analysis. Python is a programming language, so I'll show you how to write code. It's not mandatory. You can be a great data analyst without having to use Python or program or write code, but then it gives you an added advantage. That is why it is included in the bootcamp. Because if you go and search for most data analysis job postings, they will always tell you that the knowledge of Python is an added advantage. So I'll introduce you to Python tomorrow, how you can write code to do all of these things that we've done in SQL, even these charts that we've done, we can write code to create these charts. So to clean data, we can write code to clean data. So that's what I'll show you tomorrow as the final day of the pre-classes, and we're going to use the same link, same time tomorrow. So are there any questions, please? The duration of the bootcamp is 5 weeks. So it's an intensive bootcamp, Monday to Fridays, 8 to 10 p.m. for the next 5 weeks. So from November 4th to December 6th. So it is impossible to have like a central time that caters to everyone. Because of this, there are recordings for every bootcamp, every class rather. So if you miss a class, you can always watch recordings, catch up on the community, submit your assignments, and get help and support. But yes, the duration is 5 weeks. But then you can go at your own pace if you would not like to join the live classes. If you feel like you learn better taking it at your own pace, you can just go at your own pace with the recordings. Any other question, please? Okay, so if there are no questions, share the link. Okay, I didn't share the link. Okay, the link is already in the pinned message, but anyways, let me just share it. But the link is in the pinned message above. I believe if you spin, it's supposed to be up there for everybody to see. But yeah. So thank you for joining in tonight's class. I would see you same time tomorrow. I'm really excited about this journey. I believe you should too, because the prospects are really high. So please, if you can, take the training and have a lovely night. Bye. The recordings will be available. I'll share it on Twitter for those of you that joined late. Bye. Okay, I need to end the recording.